SNL Live, Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. A day where many guys around the NFL retire, including a Houston Texan. Tomorrow, will he or won't he? CJ Stroud, will he throw? He was definitely shooting hoops over the weekend. We'll also get into some other things as Texans round 2 of OTAs approaches. Let's start with the news. Ronald Darby, who participated in OTAs, he has announced that he is going to retire despite signing with the Texans in the offseason and participating.
Did Ronald Darby, did he think that he was going to get a news cycle to himself by retiring? Because the most notable retirement today was the Lions lost their center. But all right, Ronald Darby retires. He was, a veteran option for that cornerback 3 spot behind Lassiter and Derek Stingley. There's no great loss to Ronald Darby not being on this team. Somebody just needs to step up and take the snaps. Ronald Darby was sort of an afterthought of the offseason anyway. It'd have been nice to have a 10-year veteran occupy that spot. He don't want to play football anymore. See you later.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal at all. I would have been more surprised if you would have told me Ronald Darby was a key contributor next year, or he just flat out didn't make the team. I probably would have leaned might not make the team. And we said this as soon as they kicked the tires on him. He wasn't good in Jacksonville last year. They brought him in. It didn't stop them from trading up for a corner on day 2 of the draft. It didn't stop them from bringing back Miles Bryant. Quite frankly, I think the way that they play defense is a little bit different now too, in that they now have Jalen Petrie, who's the highest paid nickel corner in the league. They have Jimmy Ward, who backs him up. They drafted Jalen Reed, who could probably back both of those guys up. So I don't really think this is a big deal at all. I think there's a decent chance that he went to training camp and realized, damn, I might not make this team. I don't have it anymore. He didn't pull a Vontae Davis where he retired at halftime or however that whole thing went down with the Buffalo Bills. Rest in peace to the great Vontae Davis. But I don't look at this as a big deal at all. I saw online, as soon as it came out, I saw I don't want to sub speak. I want to direct. I think Texans Cap might have put out available third corners. It's no, they traded up for one and they have other guys. This is just a guy. It wasn't it's not like Kamari Lassiter hung it up or right. CJ Gardner-Johnson decided to hang it up. This is that they brought in a guy who was trying to survive in the NFL. It didn't work out. I don't see any panic, anything crazy here when it comes to Ronald Darby retiring at all.
Well, all this means is more opportunity for the depth pieces that were challenging him for those depth opportunities. Because as you noted, Landry, when I say cornerback 3, or when you talk about cornerback 3, it's really backup outside corners, what you're talking about. Because the third coverage guy that they put on the field is Petrie. It's that nickel cornerback spot. It's that slot cornerback spot, whatever you want to call it. So really, this position that we thought Darby could fill as a veteran with experience was backup to Lassiter, backup to Derek Stingley. And so with him out of there, it's still a backup position, but now I would look to Jalen Smith as the guy that maybe benefits the most from Darby being out of there. It's okay, now Jalen Smith, you've got a path to being a clear, one snap away backup spot on this team.
Well, I also look at it the same way that I look at another draft pick. I'll tell you about that in a second. Let's go to the soup real quick. Chase says, I'll be pushing the Darby wasn't swarm agenda. Let's push that. I must Pandaline on the soup. You ain't never hate. Swarm. She is feeling herself because the Thunder are very large favorites in the NBA Finals. They are 7-1. Yeah. She says, welcome back to the L and SNL. Welcome back to you. By the way, I was in Oklahoma City this weekend. I'm okay with the Thunder doing their thing. It's a very, very passionate fan base. I went to Brahms because they don't have Brahms in Houston. Just got my turtle caramel pecan fudge sundae. That is my favorite dessert in the world. And the OG who took my order gave me my my sundae, and he said, "Go Thunder." I didn't have a Thunder hat on or anything like that. He just said, "Go Thunder," and I said, "You know what? That's some good ass spirit."
He saw your Shea Gilgeous-Alexander arm tattoo. He was like, "Oh, this guy's a big Thunder fan."
Just go Thunder. If you had any doubts, this is from Trill Kick X. Shout out to him. If you had any doubts, this is the place for the pulse. Washington press loving Tunsil, missing OTAs, everything they hate. These two have touched. Yeah, no Tunsil at voluntaries.
I'd love to tell you I'm shocked, but
you're not.
I'd be lying to you if I was.
David White says RD saw Sting and Bullock and said, "F this, I'm out."
I do wonder if there was a thought that perhaps Ronald Darby didn't know there was basically 0% chance he was going to start. And maybe he showed up and was like, that's what starters look like now? All right, I got to hang it up. Because really, compared to Darby, obviously Kamari Lassiter's a kid. It's his second year in the NFL, but even Derek Stingley's a kid compared to Darby. And then Darby shows up and he's like, oh, that's one of the best corners in football, and that's one of the best young corners in football. I ain't got it no more. Here, let me take my signing bonus and get out of here.
UG says, do you guys see a role for Jimmy Ward on the team if everyone stays healthy? I do. I actually think it's a solid role. I think it's a role where he backs up a position that he has a lot of success in, and he backs up safety. I think it's actually a really, really appropriate role for where Jimmy Ward is at this point in his career and what DeMeco Ryans thinks of him.
Well, and you think about too, what has DeMeco Ryans harped on specifically 2 off seasons ago, and then this past off season. 2 seasons ago, it was safety depth because they were playing guys that they'd signed in the middle of the year in the Ravens game in the playoffs. This past off season, it's depth in general. And if you have a player like Jimmy Ward as a depth piece for your team, or sort of a key rotational piece for your team, and that could also extend his ability to stay on the field, that's a nice player to have on your team. And again, you've already paid for him, so you might as well use him.
Yep. HDAV Traveler, good afternoon to you, mi amigo, Austin Jack. Trill Kick X says, how many sideways passes you thinking we'll see? From the OC? Don't know.
Just as long as you throw it to somebody that's capable and not John Mechie and some of the guys they threw the sideways passes to last year, like Robert Woods. You throw it to a capable receiver if you're going to go sideways.
But yeah, to reset the Darby news, I don't think it's a big deal at all.
No.
Whatever. I didn't even know if he was for sure going to make the team. So
it's just a big deal for guys that are going to get snaps that he vacates, because you got to imagine at this point, there's not like a, you're not adding necessarily somebody that's going to come in and take his snap counts right away. So, okay. Hey, Jalen Smith, Tremont Smith, Miles Bryant, any of these other guys, like, go out there, get you a couple extra snaps, couple extra reps, and get ready for the season.
Yeah, and I think it's also, you look at some of the snap counts last year. There were times where Okudah didn't play much when he was active, and you saw Jalen Petrie in like the 90s, 95s. So it's the way they play defense is a little bit different. So no big deal.
That position that he was supposed to occupy is a clear backup position that you need good play if you need to go to it. But Stingley's been healthy, knock on wood, for 30 games in a row now or whatever it is. And Kamari Lassiter was pretty healthy last year as well. Again, knock on wood. So it's a key backup position when it gets there, but hopefully you never need to use it.
Yeah, the other thing that I think this kind of is compared to is a conversation we were having about Cam Robinson, in that they signed Cam Robinson before they drafted Ursery. Mm-hmm. And that's why I threw out the possibility, well, if Ursery's better, then he beats him out. They did what they needed to do at the time, and then it kind of changes. So they didn't have Jalen Smith on the roster when they got Darby. They probably didn't know whether it was a possibility or whatever. So things are different now, like in front of him, than where they were when they signed him. So no big deal on Ronald Darby. Congrats to him for lasting 10 years in the NFL. Not a lot of people do that. So regardless, and best of luck to him.
I assume he gets to keep his signing bonus. So $350K in the bank. Good job.
Yeah. Texans cap had like a breakdown of that. I think they get to keep the 350.
They keep his 500.
Okay. They're keeping 500.
But they could ask for the 350 back, but he didn't think they will.
So. All right. Is there anyone else on washed alert heading into camp? If Ronald Darby was washed, after saying those nice things about him, do you think there's anyone that is potentially on washed up alert heading into camp?
I was trying to think maybe if there'd be an offensive lineman.
Trent Brown.
Well, Trent Brown hadn't even been on the field yet.
Okay, so Trent Brown.
Yeah, Trent Brown would be the name there. I did see him. He exists. He was there the other day.
How'd he look?
Well, he wasn't he was just kind of watching, observing. He looked pretty trim, to be honest with you. He didn't look like he was 380 like the roster said.
Okay.
So he looked like he lost a few LBs. But I would say him just because coming back from a super serious knee injury, like what he's coming back from, there just may not be much there.
Okay.
So I would say him. And I can't really think of another name right now. I mean, there's some guys that aren't there that I really, like I need to see Danico Autry before I'm sure he's making this team. I need to see Foley Fatukasi again before I'm sure he's making this team. So there's a few of those names that I haven't seen yet that I'd say, maybe let's just make sure they're not. But Trent Brown be the answer to me.
I would say Dalton Schultz would be mine. We saw him working. Yeah, I mean, we saw him working out on the field after day one. We saw him play very poorly last year. I think he'll be better this year, but I mean, crazier things have happened than physical deterioration of a 30-year-old tight end who appears to the arrow appears to be pointing down. So I would say if we're looking at just completely guys that are completely washed, I would put Dalton Schultz on my list.
Man, look, he had a down year last year. It wasn't good by any means. He was awful at blocking. I was talking about this the other day, just comparing Jonnu Smith to Dalton Schultz. And Jonnu Smith had obviously better receiving stats, but he's also 3 times better at blocking, according to Pro Football Focus, than Schultz. If you just limited what Schultz can't do, he should still have a use for this team. And again,
right,
you've paid for him, so you're going to use him. He's going to be on the team.
I think it's possible he was hurt last year.
Well, especially if he's not even working in OTAs right now and he's doing the side work stuff with Braxton Berry right now. So maybe he was hurt last year.
Maybe. I mean, but that blocking is not. I don't think that blocking is going to get good or anything.
Well, yeah, don't ask him to block. That's like asking me to run a marathon. It's not happening.
Mile.
I can run a mile. It might kill me, but I can run a mile. I can run a mile.
Okay.
It's not going to be fast.
All right, 4 laps around the track.
It's not impossible for me to complete 4 laps around the track.
Okay, so you're going 4 laps around the track. What? Yes. Tomorrow?
It'd probably take me 20 minutes.
Dude, that's an Oprah marathon. You got to at least function. You're trying to get Oprah time or something like that. Will Ferrell.
Okay, 19. Do I hear 18? All right, 18.
All right, so washed alert.
Hold on, I want to tell you what the last time I ran a mile.
Was it baseball?
No. The girl I was dating at the time, she ran marathons, and she said something about my physical fitness or something because she was like, "Oh yeah, you lift weights, but could you run?" I was like, "I can run a mile. It couldn't be that hard." And so she timed me while I ran the mile. Boy, that was not good. That was not
the time.
Probably 16 something. It was not good.
All right.
It's bad job by me. And she did not think that was impressive.
Okay.
And I was like, come watch me lift weights. I'm way better at that.
All right. On the super chats, quickly, before we get Cody to have to run a mile. You ain't never hate. Swarm. And we'll get to the CJ shoulder in just a second. Dietology says, is it crazy to say Noel could be the better of the two? I would say no. Yeah, no. Also, could Higgins more Mike Evans or Julio at his max potential? I think he's Drake London. At his max potential. And his wife is pregnant and he's scared. Well, you should be happy, man. It's already your wife. And you should be excited. It's not easy, but I mean, you got this, my man. You've already got the feels. You've already tied down. Y'all will be great. You'll do great. And we look forward to getting updates about that. So congrats to you, my friend.
Yeah, congrats to you. And could Noel be better? He's been better through the first 2 open practices. he's every bit as advertised and maybe a little bit more. He's been fun to watch.
The Rhino says, just wanted y'all to know we had a show in Dallas this weekend and my pectoral and shoulder were tight, but I pushed through. #swarm. Way to get it out, my friend.
I like that. That's good.
Stone Alone 5 times. The man with a plan. Shout out to you. My friend, appreciate you for riding with us. Patrick Ding, did y'all go to Cheesecake Factory? We have not yet.
Haven't gone yet. No, not yet.
We have not yet. But
it's on the to-do list for sure. We'll do it.
Cody can run to Cheesecake Factory. He cannot run a mile though.
I've never been.
HDAV Traveler. Oh, you'll get there. HDAV Traveler says, Cody, I got faith you could run a marathon. LOL.
No chance. I walked in the park the other day for 3 miles and I was like, how do people do 8 times this for a marathon? This is crazy.
Stone Alone again said, I was watching Superbad this weekend. Couldn't stop thinking of you two. What a good movie that is.
Just every time somebody tells me they haven't seen it, I try not to hype it. I'm just like, you should watch it. You'll enjoy it. It's so funny. It is so damn funny.
Engineer asked if I'm having lunch with McLean this week. No, he wants to hit a Chinese spot next. We went to eat last week. I've eaten with McLean, I think 6 times this offseason. But he wants to try a Chinese spot, which I mean, he's recommended the best one in town. So
he's going to cheat on the ambassador.
I guess so. I guess he's not by the station as often. He's not going. I don't know.
Is nothing sacred anymore?
I don't know I kind of feel dirty now that you put it that way. I might have to decline. You're
gonna sit there and watch as he cheats on his ever faithful, on his steady. You're gonna sit there, have ginger soup.
Trill has a good question. He says, could Cody do a mile in the perfect jeans?
Well, yeah, they're the stretchiest, most comfortable jeans that I've ever had in my life. If I had to, I certainly could. The perfect jeans are the best.
Man.
I don't want to run a mile, but if the folks want to see me run a mile, I guess I can.
Yeah, M&D Production says I had to do long distance this year. People were getting mad at running 5:30. Long distance was my thing. We had to run a 6 in baseball in cleats. That was freshman. That was before I just stopped playing baseball. But I actually ran the mile, and then I was just like, I don't want to play. Sorry, coach. But yeah, 5.5 is there. I think you might be able to break 12. Nah, you would die. You would die. Anyway.
It wouldn't kill me, but I wouldn't be feeling good.
You'd throw up.
No, I wouldn't throw up.
You would dry heave.
No, you just get that like that when you breathe in and it's like it kind of hurts to breathe in. That's the level I'd get to where it's like one of those.
So big deal or no deal, getting to the story of OTA so far. CJ Stroud and his shoulder. By the way, at DreamCon, CJ Stroud was shooting some hoops. So there was a little bit of right arm action at DreamCon from CJ Stroud. He was getting a nice little shot in right there. Look at that.
Better than that charity game he played one year.
Yeah, and better than what he's done is the first shot with the Rockets where he's 0 for 2. He's the only Texan in that locker room to miss. But we still haven't seen him throw a football in OTAs. And some were looking at that and saying that's proof. That's not even close to the same shoulder action.
Very different. Very different.
Way different. Like it's not even close. There's some people who can't throw a football that can throw a basketball. Like it's not even the same as like, even if he was throwing it overhand, it's not the same. It's way different. But big deal or no deal with this Stroud shoulder thing. I put out a video on the oral history of CJ Stroud's shoulder. It's kind of interesting. If you want to go look at it, it's on the locker room page. It's a brief video, but his first start at Ohio State, he had the shoulder separation. He missed a game, came back, actually claimed in the press conference, I have the clip, that he has supernatural healing powers when it comes to his shoulder. Then he pretty much went unfazed, I would say, the next year at Ohio State. At least we didn't hear anything. And then his first start with the Texans, he hurt his shoulder.
First home start.
Yeah. I would assume he heard it in the game, right?
Heard it in Baltimore, you think?
I don't know, unless he was like sleeping. I don't know. Like, I'm assuming he heard it in Baltimore and then was limited the next week in practice. I don't know.
Yeah, but he didn't show up on the practice report or the injury report till Friday.
Yeah, till Friday. So maybe it happened in practice. Regardless, week 2, he faces the Indianapolis Colts with the hurt shoulder, gets to the stadium early. I actually asked him about that a little bit later on. Leadership, blah, blah, blah. And then last year he says it's hurt. So the shoulder has been a thing for CJ Stroud for a while.
Yeah.
It's been one of those things where I don't know that there has to be a strong opinion on it. Like, I don't know. I don't think the sky is falling is a possibility, but I also don't think that nothing to see here is a possibility. I think there's got to be somewhere in the middle when you're talking about this.
It's significant. It's significant until he goes out there and proves that it's not, or the team addresses it and explains that it's not going to be some sort of long absence. Our next opportunity is tomorrow to see him out there on the field and maybe throw the football for the first time. But I mean, the guy with the history, if this was something that he didn't have a history with, it would be less concerning. But he has a history of shoulder injuries. You laid it out with he got hurt before the first season that he started at Ohio State in the first game, got hurt ahead of the Colts game, and he just got a history with it. And it just becomes like, okay, was the shoulder when he said he was banged up last year and he couldn't make plays like he did his first year? Was that the shoulder in the regular season last year and he was hiding it and he didn't want to say anything and the Texans didn't want to say anything? Is that what that was? Like, the more secrecy there is about this, where DeMeco Ryans just does a blanket statement on everybody that's not there, not practicing. Nick Caley says, yeah, no worry at all, but doesn't explain what it is. The more secrecy, it invites more questions about an issue that has popped up multiple times in CJ Stroud's past.
Yeah, 2021. And this was actually in 2021. If you think I'm making a joke, this was after he missed his second start at Ohio State after the first.
Comfortable. Then on top of that, God has blessed me with a supernatural healing of my shoulder. So, my shoulder is feeling a whole lot better. Every day I'm rehabbing it just to make sure nothing else goes wrong. But, that's kind of been the big thing for me.
So that's in 2021. He said he had the supernatural healing. Now, you don't have – let me put it this way. And this is – I'm trying to make sense of this because – I don't think either one of us is saying the sky is falling, but I think if you're saying it's nothing to see here, I think it's you're either just trying to be overly optimistic or you're not really following what's going on here. Cause I've never seen a quarterback sit out the first few days of OTAs and not throw a football. Mm-hmm. And it's also a quarterback who's had shoulder issues. But when he says that and he says, God has blessed me with supernatural healing on my shoulder. Like, if I were to come out and say, God has blessed me with a supernatural ability to overcome adversity, and this is all hypothetical, that would mean that I had to overcome adversity before multiple times. So when he says God has given me a supernatural healing power of my shoulder, and then we see the next year where he has to, or 2 years later, he has to deal with the shoulder issue. And then last year and now, it's at least something that's been there for a long time. There's a lot of clues there.
And again, the less they say about it, the more questions I have. Is this something he's always going to deal with in his NFL career? Is this something that he's resting because he addressed it in the offseason? Is it an injury that he suffered at the end of last year that he had to recover from in the offseason? Did he have a lighter offseason because he was recovering from injury? There are lots of questions here because an injury pops up. If they had just said Monday, you know what, he's a little sore, it's going to take a few days before we're comfortable with him throwing, that pretty much covers it. But not saying anything, they've invited questions about the situation.
Well, and the other thing is that if you're looking at like the shoulder thing, like how did the one skill that CJ Stroud has shown in the last 4 years, and this is a good thing. This is a good thing when it comes to the shoulder. And we've done a lot of diving into this. Like, we're giving you quotes from 2021, and we've laid out the timeline. Again, that's on the locker room if you want like the whole timeline of the shoulder injury. But he has shown a willingness and ability and what he calls a supernatural ability to be able to play through shoulder pain. Like we've seen that. Like we've seen that like at Ohio State. He did what he did. He played his way into being the number 2 pick. That rookie season, that week 2 that we speak of in 2023, he had one of the best rookie seasons that we've ever seen. And last year, I mean, I don't know that they completely flipped the switch, but after that Baltimore game where he said he was hurt, they won a playoff game and they went toe-to-toe with Kansas City. So he's shown that. I just don't know if that gets easier. Like, so like as age goes on and your supernatural abilities like kind of deteriorate, it's been around literally every year that he's been on the radar as a football player. Because we're going back, he started 2 years at Ohio State. That was his second start. He started week 1, sat out week 2, and then week 3 against Maryland he played. And then the rookie season, he ended up playing hurt with the shoulder, and then everything we've seen since. So, like, does it become more difficult as you get older? And the other thing is, and this is something that he's never really faced, like at Ohio State, when he's playing through that shoulder pain, he's trying to establish himself as the man. Like they just brought in Quinn Ewers, who's already a millionaire. He skipped his senior year of high school to be your backup. So there's already a guy who's kind of labeled the man behind you. And you're basically trying to keep your job, and you're basically trying to, I don't want to say prolong, because I think CJ was going to end up in the NFL no matter what, but you're basically trying to hold it down and maximize your football career. Same thing with your rookie season. Like it's kind of new to you, but like now you're extension eligible. Like, are you going to be willing, if there is like something hurting, are you going to be willing to press it as much? And also, does it become more difficult? I think that's something to at least ask the question of based on the context clues.
Well, we know he'll press it because after he heard it in his first season starting, he went out there and threw a career high 54 times against Oregon.
No, but my point is he's thinking about a contract. Like you don't like this is like the CJ is thinking about season contract. So the first year at Ohio State, you're trying to hang around. You got 2 more years. Your first year in the NFL, you're trying to hang around. You're trying to do your thing. This is a contract year. It's the most important contract of his life. It's one of the largest contracts that they give out in sports. And I just wonder, like, if there's like some sort of caution naturally. For me, there would be.
Wouldn't that caution be on the team side, though? Not necessarily his?
Yeah, maybe both.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think what a lot of people's pushback is, well, it's a couple of OTA practices. Like, he's missing a couple of OTA practices. This isn't missing training camp. This isn't missing the preseason. But we're 67 days away from the first preseason game. Like, if there's something significantly wrong with his shoulder, is he going to be ready to play the preseason game in 67 days? Like, we're less than 2 months away. Less than a month away, or less than 2 months away from training camp starting. Like, is he going to be ready for training camp? I think those are all valid questions. The guy that has a shoulder injury history.
Well, I mean, if it were his ankle, I would get that. But I'm looking at this, and I just did this math very quickly, aka typed it in the internet. But it was 3 years, 7 months, and 24 days ago, which is 1,332 days ago, when he said he had a supernatural healing power with his shoulder. And we've seen multiple examples of shoulder pain since. And I've never seen in my time covering the team. And I know there's kind of a desire to minimize stuff. And there's a desire to push back on legit media members that try to do their job like as honestly as possible. But if there's clues there. And I've never in my life seen a quarterback sit out the first 2 days of OTAs because he's trying to rest his shoulder. And if he was, I would at least see the team say, yeah, there's a little bit of shoulder. Like Sean McVay would have come out and said, yeah, Matthew Stafford has a sore shoulder. We're resting him. We're taking it easy so that he's ready to go for camp. Like that's what he would have said.
And if he doesn't throw tomorrow, D'Amico Ryans needs to say something similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Astros are the topic that keeps coming up in the chat. in wake of everything that's happened with the Astros, and the Astros have gotten a lot of criticism. And we've talked about this with the Texans. Sometimes there is like a keeping it real goes wrong where you're trying to protect the player and you're putting them in a interesting spot. So it happens, but I don't think it's nothing at all.
It's a big deal till it's not a big deal. And it may not be a big deal tomorrow, and it may not be a big deal until minicamp. And like if he throws a minicamp, maybe it's not a big deal to people, but it is a big deal that this guy with a shoulder injury history is missing time because of a shoulder injury. And that's what it is. Like if you can't practice, you are injured.
Well, and the other thing is it's in season. And I think this is some of the confusion. Like if this were an in season thing, then what would have happened? This is what would have happened. We would have gone to OTA 1. After we left, 2 hours later, there would be a practice report. It would say CJ Stroud out or limited. And to the far right, it would say shoulder. Mm-hmm. And that would be the same case the next couple of days. They're not required to put out that type of information. And what the Texans have proven is they're not going to put out any information that they don't have to put out. So yeah, that's just kind of where we're at with it. And again, we've gotten all these context clues. This isn't, if it were an ankle, if it were a foot, if it were a calf, if it were a stomach, if it were a hangnail, if it were anything other than the shoulder.
If it were a pectoral, like it was initially reported.
Yeah. Then anything other than what we've seen in the last 3+ years, then I think it would be completely different. By the way, what was the report? I was in Oklahoma City. I saw that he had a hurt pec. Then I saw that he had a slight shoulder. Then I've seen it worded like 100 different ways. Like what is this official report? I tried to go back and like count it. I can't keep up.
The official report now is shoulder.
Okay. But it was a pec.
It started as a pec.
Started as a pec, went to a shoulder, and then it went to like different ways of saying the shoulder. So
correct.
Okay. Don't know. I Must Paneline wants to know, when did it switch to shoulder? Yeah, when did that happen? I'm with her. She was in her normal routine. I was at a wedding and stuff. Like, help me out. When did this happen?
It switched to shoulder at about 6:50 Friday night from pec.
Okay, so Aaron Wilson originally put it out as pec. At what time?
His initial report was pec at 6 o'clock or so.
Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people are saying they didn't see it switch to shoulder.
Okay, here's your initial report.
The initial report: Texans quarterback CJ Stroud not throwing due to tight pectoral, not considered serious, quote, no concerns whatsoever. Okay.
Now that quote's from Nick Caley when he was asked about it.
Okay.
So that was 5:45, and then an hour later it's shoulder.
Okay. But not shoulder. Okay. There we go. Boom. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyways, on the super chat, let's check out what we got there quickly. You ain't never hate. Swarm. Dietology says AFC champ, and we have to meet up at track for. Okay, so if the Texans make it to the AFC Championship game, you have to run a mile.
Deal. That's I could do that. We'll have a track party.
HDAV Traveler. By the way, we're putting together some parties again for this season, so be ready for that. HDAV Traveler says John McClain know where the good restaurants are. No, he knows. He knows. He just likes he and I have a bond of hole in the walls. So anywhere there's a hole in the wall that we haven't tried, we've tried like 3 now. There. Although I think he wants to try that fancy ass rice box on Katy Freeway. That's like looks like a damn club.
No, you don't want to.
I don't know if that's what he said or not. I'm not sure. Trokick X, CJ Stroud over Jalen Green. Yeah, not close. Oh, you're talking about a shot. Yeah, that was a good shot. I saw 713 Ruben talking about CJ was playing basketball. Yeah, it's just a different motion though than the shoulder. Like if you see me, like I could throw a basketball like from baseline to baseline, like no problem. I can shoot. Try to watch me throw a football. I can't lift my shoulder over my head. It's completely different motion.
Yeah, they're totally different motions.
It's way different. Kyle Nance, God has blessed Cody with a supernatural mile time.
If it's a single digit as the first, if it's a single digit mile time, then yes, he has. But I don't believe that to be the case.
Colton says, "What if it's a Rick Vaughn Major League 2 situation?" I'm trying to think because I know he went Hollywood in Major League 2.
Well,
remember when he disappointed the kids and just gave them some autographed baseballs and then left?
Well, that's kind of what 2024 was after the big podcast tour and feeling himself. And this is easier than I thought it was going to, or it ended up being harder than he thought it was going to be. That's what 2024 was. Where Rick Vaughn started naming the pitches. I call this one the Eliminator.
Oh yeah. David White in the perfect jeans is a must. So you got to run in the.
Yeah, if they make it the AFC Championship game, we'll all meet up at a track and I'll run a mile in my perfect jeans.
Mark that. So yeah, the CJ Stroud stuff continues. Also on the super chat, the narrow path with Gage says, "Hey Landry, how was the wedding?" Kane asks, "How'd your daughter do as a flower?" She choked. It's pathetic. She just, it was kind of a long track, but she choked. And then I basically had to watch her the whole time. But the dance floor, she completely stole the show, but she choked. Let's just be honest. It was a bad performance.
Did she just not follow the path? Like
she just ran to the right, and then I had to go get her. And then she was kind of trying to talk during that. So I just took her back to the back house and we just hung out, and she tried to climb in the bathtub and all that. So I basically just had to I just had to keep her out of the way until the dance. And then it was fine. Yeah, not awesome. Kyle says, if Cody can go under 16, no more hair phones. Got your back.
No more hair. Oh, he's saying jokes, hair jokes.
Okay. So
I don't think those will ever stop.
Week 1, part 1 OTA reactions outside of the CJ Stroud. What are the biggest reactions from week 1, part 1 of OTAs?
To me, Jalen Noel looks like the real deal. He's been the best non-Nico Collins receiver through 2 open practices, couple of plays over on the sideline that really get his teammates oohing and on. And on some of the short stuff that they've been throwing him, he's just quickly eliminating the coverage and getting open. And he's, to me, been one of the biggest pieces and one of the biggest elements of these first 2 open practices. Is he looks the part, and he looks through 2 workouts like the steal that most of us thought he could be when they drafted him 79th overall.
Yeah, I would say Noel looks like the real deal. Like he is as impressive of a rookie receiver as I can remember seeing. And I'll go back to Fuller. I'll go to the Fuller era. He's as impressive of a immediate rookie, like first time laying eyes on him, as I've seen. Now Fuller's the only one that they took with a high draft pick. So, we start talking about like Jalen Strong, Kiki QT, like, that's kind of where we're at. But I would say that Noel is the most immediately impressive rookie wide receiver that I can remember seeing in a Texans uniform that the Texans took. And it should be mentioned that he is here despite Nick Casario's original plans, which is great. Nice pivot. But thank God that New England didn't accept that original trade, assuming it was for Ursary, because the most impressive guy to me out there, Noel, has looked the part, and I think he's a good safety blanket for CJ Stroud, given that there's so much uncertainty about the offensive line. You can get rid of the ball quickly.
Yeah, he's looked better than all the wide receivers that aren't Nico Collins. That's not to say, like, I say that and then you think Jaden Higgins looks bad. Jaden Higgins looks good too. Higgins has had some solid days so far. It's not been as good as Noel, but both those guys look the part and have impressed. And the thing I keep coming back to with Higgins is fluid. He just looks fluid for his size. It doesn't look like he's out of control or he's having trouble with some of the minutia of the position. It looks fluid. So
I feel like they've saved my neck.
It's a big thumbs up for both those guys.
I feel like they've lowered because I was starting to do like the Floyd Mayweather like neck exercises, getting ready for training camp because I felt like I would have to be looking at the wide receivers and then looking at the offensive line and then looking at the wide receivers and the offensive line. Like in a short time, they have feel like you have a pretty good grasp of what the wide receivers are. And now it's just all offensive line, which brings me to the next thing. Is there any, I don't want to say clear picture because that would be outlandish, but like what has caught your eye the most as someone who likes to look at fat dudes block? What has caught your eyes the most about this offensive line 2 days in?
I'd be shocked if Laken Tomlinson's not the starting left guard. He's the only guy outside of Andrews that hasn't had somebody replace him in that initial lineup out there. Like Ursery's gone out there instead of Robinson. You've had other guys go out there instead of Titus Howard at right guard. You've had other guys go out there instead of Fisher at right tackle. Even Patterson late in that first workout got some reps with the ones at center, but nobody's taken Laken Tomlinson snaps. And he's the first guy out there on the field when they go to line up. He's kind of that, you talked about it, sort of that tone setter, the OG, just, hey, let's put our heads down, go to work type guy. And then he's one of the guys that in all these drills, they're just sitting there and he's giving it everything he's got in all the drills. And Friday, when he hit the blocking pad, I thought it was, people stopped what they were doing and looked over there because it sounded like it was thunder that came from inside. Like he hit a blocking pad to the point where people were like, what was that noise? It's like, and so I'd be shocked if he's not the left guard for this team.
I mean, he's basically started every football game since 2018. And by basically, I think he has.
The last time he missed a game was 2017 and he missed one game.
Yeah. So he's, and he starts like, so like as bad as he's supposed to be. I told you it was the most incredible game log I've ever seen in stats for a guy that everybody thinks stinks, that just starts all the time in a sport where everybody gets hurt
at a position where so many guys get hurt.
Yes. Yes. It's kind of fascinating to see. It'll be interesting to see what he looks like.
And then Andrews, it feels like has he's getting the top crack.
Factor. He's on the radar. Not only is he on the radar, I think he's got an advantage over everybody.
He's getting the top crack at center. So they promised mixing and matching after that first workout, and that's exactly what they did in the second workout. Because you had guys doing stuff on day 2 that they didn't do on day 1. Like Scruggs played some center, Patterson played some guard. Jalen Thomas, who was a tackle, has played both guard positions. It's in the 2 workouts. So they promised mixing and matching, trying to find that 5 best, and that's what they're doing. They're giving these guys opportunities. And again, there's only so much O-lineman can do. Nick Haley kind of talked about it the other day. And so did D'Amico Ryans, just making sure you understand what's asked of you between the ears. And when you do get an opportunity to sort of be physical, like how physical are you in those situations?
Yeah. In a decent amount of time, like they've kind of cut down the overall intrigue of camp. Like, the last few years there've been a lot more position battles. There's a lot on the offensive line. You can factor that in, but it's kind of where the attention is. So we'll see where that goes, man. We'll see where that goes. But the offensive line, very, very interesting. James R on the super chat. You ain't never hate. Swarm. He said Landry needed you on Friday. Cody was getting bombarded by meat writers talking about how we're not owed an explanation about CJ wasn't throwing. Did you get bombarded?
I mean, I was shocked by the amount of people that were like, well, they don't have to answer it. Okay, I agree with you. They don't have to answer why he's not throwing, but they just invite more questions when they don't say something. Like if D'Amico Ryans had said Wednesday, CJ's a little sore, we're going to be cautious with him as he comes back from being a little sore here in some of the offseason work. Okay, it's pretty easy. But when you find out Friday that he's got a shoulder injury and he's got a shoulder injury history, like how bad is it? You invite questions. The guy hasn't thrown yet. He's the only franchise QB not throwing in OTAs.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you just got to take clues and you got to at least just factor them in. You're not going to lose your fan card or whatever if you want to know what's going on there. So, yeah, There you go. Ezekiel, he has a new song. This is the Aaron Wilson remix, I think. Started from the peck, now we here. Started from the peck, now we're here.
Drake.
Ezekiel, well done, sir.
What was the reaction with the peck?
Well, when it was the peck, it was like, okay, well, like woo saw, like there's nothing, too scary about this, because it's something that like should take a couple of weeks at most to figure out. And okay, it's just some soreness, so you're being overly cautious. Like, great, because obviously a torn pec, it sidelines you for a long time as a quarterback. So okay, you want to be cautious with it, but there was a lot less worry about it when it was a pec, and then it turned into a shoulder, and it's like, okay, well, I'm far more concerned about this now.
Yeah, and this is kind of the pushback, and apology if you're not trying to say this, but he says MFs was freaking out in May about CJ. And this is I'm not saying this is you, sir, but the bully. But like, please don't steal my lunch money. I don't know, like, if that's kind of keeping it real / meat writing gone wrong, because would it be like, does it worry you less in May? Like, what if it was July? Like, I know you got time to get ready, but does that make it like less of a concern if you've been resting or doing whatever for 6 months, and then you come back and all of a sudden you're not throwing the rock? 713 Sports says he'll give CJ his shoulder. Well, they'll have the first pick in the draft. If that's the case, God, you see, give him Ruben. I don't think Ruben can run a mile either. If we're talking about you running a mile, he don't want your shoulder, Rube.
Texans content creator Miles.
Shout out to Rube, but damn, he don't need that. He'll be better off playing with one, using his left.
Yeah, again, when it was a torn pec, or not torn pec, when it was a pec muscle injury, there was a lot less concern than was with shoulder, because CJ Stroud has a shoulder history. Like, there should be concern about it, because there's some reason that his shoulder's not doing well. And until they address it,
it's been a pattern.
And until they address, like, if they say he hurt his shoulder lifting weights, okay, that makes me feel better. But if we find out, well, he's not throwing now because he had to rest in the offseason because he had a significant shoulder injury at the back end of last year, okay, that's something more significant.
David Pope asks, is Mills our only healthy QB? Yes.
Well, Keaton Slovis is.
Let me repeat myself. Yes. He is your only healthy QB. Yes.
Keaton Slovis looks like he's hurt when he throws the ball.
Yes, he's your only healthy QB. Davis Mills. Yes. Don't correct me on that. Okay. You're the biggest Slovis hater there is. So there you go. So the Darby thing, to circle back to the Darby thing here on SNL, I think the draft, I don't know how much it impacted Darby's decision, but they obviously traded up for a corner, and that corner appears to be a much bigger part of their short and long-term plans than Ronald Darby. Is there any other stuff that happened in the draft that impacted guys as much as it impacted Darby? I think the obvious one would be John Mechie at wide receiver. I think even like the slight possibility that there was appears to be dead. Maybe you could say Blake Fisher with Ursery kind of breathing down his neck, but I don't even know about that, because I think that Blake Fisher, I think right tackle is probably his spot to lose.
The only thing to me would be wide receivers. Everybody that's not Nico Collins or Christian Kirk. You're either getting pushed down or pushed off the depth chart with the addition of Higgins and Knoll, and then depth in the secondary because of the additions of Smith and Reed as depth guys. So are they, in theory, Smith has already pushed one depth guy out of there. It's like, okay, the old guy can't hang. All right, here's a young man's game. Here we go. So.
And they signed re-signed Miles Bryant too, so he's there. And
well, and they also added an undrafted free agent at corner as well, who's a bigger kid out of southeastern Louisiana.
Ronald Darby.
Kadrain Callahan was his
How about
name.
Ronald Darby if he knew he wasn't going to play from the jump and just went and got that $350K?
It's good business.
Hustled him and got the hell out of there.
I mean, it's not like he signed the deal, didn't show up, and then wanted his money. He was out there. He didn't stand out in like a bad way. I just wonder if he got to his locker after Friday and was like, you know what, F this. I'm out of here.
I want to go to Florida. I want to go back to Florida, relax, chill, hang out. I got my $350K. I'm probably not going to get to play. Hell, I might not even make the team. Let's go on a vacation, honey, and let's get the hell out of here. Salute to Ronald Darby. It's not a big deal at all. It doesn't change anything. I don't think they're freaking out about it. It's not like some area of need. And, I think that the Stroud thing is something. I don't think this is anything. So,
and with Ronald Darby's departure, Mario Edwards is now the only Florida State player on the roster.
Okay.
We went through how many schools are represented by multiple guys.
Yeah. Ronald Darby got a little national title there. David White says, our shoulder injury prone franchise QB has a shoulder injury. Of course, we would be worried. Once he starts getting hit, he is toast. Now that, my friend,
that's hot take, David. We don't know if
the shoulder's been lingering around for a while.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think about Mia Khalifa whenever I see these types of things. Whenever I get like clues, I just think about Mia Khalifa, the porn star. And the reason I think about it is because, and this has nothing to do with what Deshaun Watson may or may not have done, but I think at the bare minimum, the guy's a freak. The guy, or at least was a freak. He's engaged now, and I'm sure that that's just a normal, like, platonic relationship. But he was definitely a freak at one point. And remember when the video came out of Deshaun Watson sitting in Mia Khalifa's apartment and they were playing basketball in the living room? That should have been the hint that showed us that Deshaun Watson was a freak. It shouldn't have been a surprise. Just like the shoulder injury, man. I don't think you can just dismiss clues. I think you got to at least take the clues and package them up.
I agree. I don't know where it was going, but then you explained it.
That was a big hint. And then even then, the funniest was you had some like, oh, big deal. He's just hanging out. It's like, if Deshaun is going over to Mia Khalifa's house and just eating a home cooked meal and hanging out, and by the way,
going to Austin.
Yeah. And by the way,
she live in Houston.
Yeah. And by the way, she was acting like it was like she should have never put that video out. That was slimy of her. I defend Deshaun on this. That was BS of her to do that. And she ended up taking it down. But she said he just went over there to have a home cooked meal. Dude, come on. Like, and I don't blame him for it. I don't blame him for it. But yeah, there was the clue right there. Yeah, so there we go.
The first of a couple.
Yeah.
But then, but then the cafeteria workers, and he felt like such a wholesome guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was good. So there we go. So we got some OTAs tomorrow. We'll be watching CJ Stroud, see what's going on with him. You heard from Nick Caley last week. Very Sean McVay vibe to Nick Caley. Very Sean McVay vibe. He's obviously going to follow the D'Amico lead. Do you have like a new plan of attack for asking questions with Nick Caley? Is there like any adjustments that need to be had? Because I was obviously at the wedding, but is there like any like adjustment to where you think you can get? Because Bobby Slowick, you really say what you wanted about Bobby, and I know we've said a lot about him.
Damn it, Bobby.
But you can get answers out of Bobby Slowick. Sometimes he will give you a little bit too much when it comes to the foolishness that he often display, but he would give you full details. Is there any adjustments that we need to have to Nick Caley questioning? Because I don't think it's going to be as easy.
I think when there's something specific about the offense that you can ask about that maybe you've noticed or they've had time to work on, he got asked, well, what's the offense? He's like, well, we're still figuring out what everybody's good at. So, okay, so you didn't really have that. But like, you got to be very.
He shouldn't have that.
You got to be very pointed and structured in how you're asking a question to Nick Caley. Because if you leave him an opening to go coach speak or to go give you a basic answer, then you're going to get coach speak or a basic answer.
It is interesting though. Like Sean McVay definitely has a different approach with injuries than D'Amico. McVay will go up there and just start off. All right, so and so's dealing with this, the other guy's dealing with that. Blah 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 blah. Yada yada yada. So it's definitely different. Landry and his porn comparisons. I thought that was very topical. What I just put together. Gustavo says, at what point do we trade for a QB so our season don't end short? Number 1 overall pick. Here we come. Who's looking good at? Should we trade? Come on.
It's Gustavo. I think you forgot the sarcasm fonts, Gustavo.
Yeah. Nah, it's all good. Davis Mills.
Like that's the biggest thing about people hearing what they want to hear is like, it's not some massive, like, find the panic button, hit the panic button. It's just something you need to understand that it's notable. The guy with a shoulder injury history has a shoulder injury.
No. And I mean, quite frankly, like, it's not even slow news day. Like, anytime, I'll tell you this right now. Like, this is just me. And I'm like, and I get that there's different ways, but like, anytime that I cover an NFL practice and the starting quarterback doesn't throw a pass, it's going to be the top story. It doesn't matter if it's in May. It doesn't matter if it's in September, October, November, December, January, February. Anytime I go to an NFL practice and the starting quarterback is not throwing a single pass, that is going to be the top story, and that should be the top story. Now, people say Cody was panicking. I think you're just laying it out. I don't know.
No, I was definitely, I mean, panicking is definitely not the way to explain it. But people act like it was no big deal. It was significant. It's significant, as Landry just laid out. It's significant.
Yeah, if you're minimizing that, then I don't like. Maybe
you're on the wrong side of history.
Or you're a Texans employee, or you're trying to do too much. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. And CJ Stroud's shoulder is one of the most important body parts in town. If we're being completely honest, might be the most. Let's power rank the body parts tomorrow. Most important body parts on SNL.
Okay. All right. I got the top.
I'm just kidding. I'm just
4 or
kidding.
5.
No, that was a joke.
Okay.
It would be number one. Number one is CJ Stroud's shoulder.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Nick Cayley's head. No, Nick Cayley's head.
Okay.
Because he's got to keep his brain intact. So Nick Cayley's head. Number 3 is Will Anderson's
ankle.
Yes, because that always gets hurt. Number
Nico's
4 is
hamstring.
Nico's hamstring. Well, you could go between 4 and 5. 5 is definitely. Aaron Wilson said that Joe Mixon was in a boot. Whatever foot or whatever reason that boot was on there.
Yeah,
that's the fit. So those are the top 5. CJ's elbow, Nick Cayley's mind, Will Anderson's ankle, Nico Collins' hammy, and Joe Mixon's whatever body part, head, shoulders, knees, and toes that there was, leg, the thing. So those are the top 5 body parts of concern. We don't even have to wait till tomorrow. Can't get that anywhere else.
You cannot. Hopefully they treat CJ's elbow, or CJ's shoulder better than they treat.
Pec.
No, it's a shoulder.
Oh,
hopefully they treat CJ's shoulder better than the Astros treated Jordan's hand. Hey, you got a broken hand. Go take batting practice, bud. Hey, dude, CJ, you got a messed up shoulder. Go throw in OTAs.
But you knew Jordan Alvarez was going to get hurt. But that's the other thing is there were a lot of clues, and CJ's given us so many shoulder clues. Jordan's just giving us full body clues. Like, I knew that Jordan Alvarez was going to be hurt forever whenever they said he had surgeries on knees. Like, remember when he had one hurt knee and they're like, well, actually it was 2.
We're just going to go ahead and have 2 knee surgeries at once.
Yeah, 2 knee surgeries. He's like 23, allegedly. It's like, yeah. So you knew that, and that's why you take advantage of these clues. Yeah. So, yeah. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Cody Stutes, mile run if the Texans make the AFC title.
In the perfect jeans.
Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to ride along. Be sure to always remember OTAs tomorrow, by the way. When it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.